Hey VC, I'm back for a vinyl update. I've got some 45's as well as about 10 or 15 LPs, some cool finds from all around Goodwill, Antique Mall, as well as my local flea market where I got all these 45's. I had a really good haul, some really neat stuff. So let's start off with those 45's. This is a promo copy. This is Billy Lee Riley. This song is I've Got a Thing About You Baby. And the reason I got this is because Elvis covered this song in 1973 off of his Raised on Rock album. This is a promo, so one side mono, one side stereo. And Billy Lee Riley as well was on the Sun label in the 1950s. And I have one of his singles as well, which I should have brought out, but I didn't. So there's that one. The next 45... This was really cool. I've never seen a specialty sleeve, but this is Little Richard with Under the Light of a Silver Moon from 1958. And that's in really nice condition. These specialty singles sound really good. There's that one. Something I've never seen before on 45, which was really cool. A very early Motown single. This is Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, but just titled as The Miracles with Shop Around, from 1960 on this REO label, which is a Canadian pressing, and this is in beautiful shape. There it is. And an artist that I've never seen on 45, I have her full-length album that this single comes off of. This is as well a Canadian pressing on the Quality label, but that's Etta James with My Dearest Darling from her At Last album. In beautiful condition. This thing just sounded so good when I put it on, and such a fantastic talent. So I really thoroughly enjoyed that. This was super cool. As you all know, if you've been watching my videos for a long time, I'm a super Johnny Cash fan and a bit of a completist of his, and I never have seen this before. This is a Dutch only EP from the Netherlands, and this is The Fabulous Johnny Cash on CBS. This is an EP from his 1959 album on Columbia, but for the Netherlands pressing, it's on CBS. Now, another thing that I've never seen, this is a France-only EP of Ray Charles. This is from his most famous album, Modern Sounds in Country and Western, one of the best albums of all time. There's the tracks. Really beautiful sleeve on ABC Paramount. Moving on, you can never go wrong with a very interesting promotional item. I knew of this group for another one of their songs. This is a single-sided 7-inch of the Four Nights with You. It's got a big write-up here. This is from 1955, right when they came on the scene. This is on Capitol, single-sided, white label promo. I love that sleeve. I love the song You. I know them for the song, I Get So Lonely When I Dream About You, but this one is really good. I'd like to get their full-length album, but that was super cool. Single-sided item. Moving on, a couple from my favorite crooners. This is Dean Martin with I'm Yours. Nice UK EP from 1961. I'm Yours is a great song, by the way. Frank Sinatra UK EP with Talk to Me. Another great 4 songs on that. That's on the Black Capitol label. Last but definitely not least, on his Master's Voice record label, which I didn't even know Frank Sinatra had anything out on this. This is Moonlight Sinatra from 1959. He does a great version of Fools Rush In. And let's move on to the LPs. First of all, a really interesting listen. This is Paul Horn with Inside from 1969, and I really enjoyed this album. I have many of his other albums, like Inside 2, Inside the Great Pyramid, and this is from the Taj Mahal, recorded live, and kind of just mellow flute music, what you'd expect from this. And if you haven't checked out Paul Horn, his albums are cheap, and I definitely recommend you check him out. Moving on, a country legend doing another country legend songs. This is Kitty Wells doing the songs of Jim Reeves. To be honest, I haven't spun this yet, but I grabbed it for $1 because I'm a huge Jim Reeves fan, so I wanted to hear Kitty Wells do songs like Four Walls and stuff like that. So So there's that. Kitty Wells. That's on Decca. Moving on here, we've got another kind of country artist. He is not very well known. I knew of him just because I had one of his albums in my collection. And this is Wynn Stewart, his album from 1969. And just kind of that Nashville late 60s sound. Nothing amazing, but for $1, I'm going to pick that one up in great condition. Moving to a different genre of music. I used to have this album, and then I gave it away to a friend. So I picked it up again for $5 at the flea market. This is Wasp. They have the great song I Want to Be Somebody on this one. This is their first album. Has the insert, and it's on Capitol in beautiful condition. So if it's kind of heavy metal, hard rock, I'm sure everyone knows that album. Moving to another different genre of music. This is Connie Francis with doing some songs. I got this at Goodwill. Doing some of my favorite songs that were written by this one person. And she does The Last Waltz, made famous by Engelbert Humperdinck, as well as Tom Jones with It's Not Unusual. And that version of It's Not Unusual is very nice. Enjoyed that one a lot. Moving on, I was at an antique mall this weekend. They were having a sale on, so I got this album for pretty cheap. This is the Second Brooklyn Bridge, a nice pop 60s album. This one has their amazing version of You'll Never Walk Alone, which Elvis later did a couple of years later. Moving on, one of my favorite groups from the 60s. This is Dave Clark 5, A Weekend in London, a nice US pressing on the London, or not the London label. Oh, I said that because it's Weekend in London, on the Epic label. I've got a version of this on the Capitol label, made out of Canada, and it's a completely different cover. Once again, should have brought it out, but I didn't. This was super enjoyable. Some nice variety of paces on the songs. And another Canadian legend here, Hank Snow, Tales of the Yukon. This was a couple bucks, and I didn't have it. It's in beautiful condition from 1968. Check this one out. Some great kind of storytelling songs. Talks over some of the music. And it's very enjoyable. An album I didn't have, this is probably a 1962 stereo pressing of Dave Brubeck Quartet with Take 5. You all know this album came out in 59, if I'm not mistaken. This is an early 60s pressing on the Red 2i label. So, legendary album. Didn't have it. One of those albums that is very highly regarded that I never heard in full. And I listened to it and realized why it's highly regarded. And the Christmas season is upon us very soon, so I found this one at Goodwill. It's got some tape on the top. This is folk legend singer Odetta with Christmas Spirituals from 1960. Very old one on the Vanguard label. There's the track listing, if you can read that. And that was cool on a very early Vanguard label. Another Goodwill find. Some 80s cheese. This is Sergio Mendes, his famous album from 1983 with Never Gonna Let You Go. Pretty good album for the rest of the way. Kind of just 80s, kind of synthesizer. What you expect from Sergio Mendes, but for a couple bucks, I wasn't going to leave that one behind, and I'm a big fan of his. So a couple finds from a small record store here. This is not a bootleg, I thought it was. But this is the Beach Boys on Skepta Records. If you know me, you also know that I'm a huge Beach Boys fan. This one's in the shrink wrap. Now, the funny part about this is a lot of the songs on here aren't actually the Beach Boys, but this is from their first session, so songs like Surfin' Safari, Barbie, Luau, those types of songs. But then there's a couple of versions, obviously aren't the Beach Boys, but this happened a lot with these types of albums. But I have this kind of same session on CD as well. It also was released a few years ago for Record Store Day. Never picked it up, so I got this instead. And you get the full session on here, but then you get some kind of bad versions of other songs of the Beach Boys. Last but not least, one of my favorite groups, once again, Tommy James and the Shondells. I think this is their last album as a group from 1970 on the Roulette label. You all know that label. It's got a nice delete cut in the cover because obviously it didn't sell. But that is it for me, VC. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think of my finds. Thanks all for subscribing and liking and all that good stuff. Been enjoying all of your videos. Hope you have a great rest of your week and take good care. See you soon.